Hi everybody, welcome to the Applied Psychology at Iadt Spotlight session. We are just going to wait for a few for the attendees to come in. So if you just give us a minute here, please. Thank you. Thank you for your patience here. Okay. Just going to give it another few seconds and then we'll get started.
It would be lovely to know where people are joining us from here today. If anyone wants to pop that into the chat.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are joined today by Dr. Emma Matthews, Dr. Nicola Porter, and Cleona Flood is also with us, who teaches on both the undergraduate and the master's programs here at IADT. Our student ambassador, unfortunately, Sinead, cannot make it just due to some personal circumstances. So, but Sinead had sent some slides, so we'll talk through them as well. I'm Sonia, and I'm the information coordinator at IADT, and I will be in the background for the duration of the talk. There is a questions box, and if you want to put questions in there, we'll answer them at during the presentation and at the Q&A at the end. Okay, everybody enjoy. Thank you.
Hi everyone, you're very welcome to our webinar on Applied Psychology degree at IADT. As Sonia said, my name is Emma Mathias and I'm the second year tutor here for the psychology program, and Cleona is the first year tutor. And Nicola is one of the lecturers on the third and fourth year programs. So I'm going to talk you through a little bit about what we do here in psychology at IADT, give you an idea of what you might study in each year if you choose to come to IADT to study psychology, and a little bit of background about what psychology is as well. I know it's something that sounds super interesting, and it really is. I know I'm biased, but it's a really fascinating topic with lots of different aspects and lots of really interesting things to learn. So I'm sure that you're aware of maybe a little bit of information about what psychology is, but just to give you a really brief definition, we can understand it as the study of the mind and mental processes in relation to our behaviors. So when we talk about applied psychology, this kind of throws sometimes people the title of the degree, but it's the same qualification as any degree, psychology degree that you're going to get in Ireland. And the applied bit is because we look a little bit more depth in this program at the practical implications of psychology in your everyday life. So we're really adding this extra aspect of thinking about what you can do with your knowledge and how you can implement it into your own life, as well as theoretically into your academic work. So the degree here in IADT is 4 years long, and you'll have a Bachelor of Science honours degree in Applied Psychology at the end of that. So this will be the same qualification as you get in any of the universities in Ireland, and our degree is accredited by the Psychological Society of Ireland. The accreditation is something that we have to apply for, and every university has to apply for every few years. So this means that we take a look at our program and we make little alterations and are constantly improving it and adding to it. So we've been improved since 2002. And we're in the process of applying for reaccreditation at the moment, and we've been successful in all of our applications so far, so we have no doubt that we'll be successful again. And if you're interested in having a look at the Psychological Society of Ireland, they have a website with lots of information there as well. And just to give you an idea of then what you would be studying if you chose to come to IDT to study psychology. So in the first year of study, you'll be kind of getting a nice introduction to psychology. As I said, Cleona here is the first year tutor, and she also lectures on the first year of psychology program, and will give you a gentle introduction into the area of psychology. And you'll also have lots of topics to choose from that are listed here. So your introduction to psychology would give you like a broad kind of overview of all the different subject areas. Well, not all of the different, because there's many of them, but a few of the main ones. And then you will study cyber psychology, which is really unique to our program here in IADT. We have some of the biggest cyber psychology experts in the country teaching here. And you'll get an introduction to this topic in first year as well. You'll also be looking at research methods, which you'll study over all 4 years of your degree, which will give you a really solid grounding in the scientific methods when it comes to doing research in psychology, and also learning how to use statistics to analyze the data that you'll collect over the years in different experiments and different projects that you engage with. And you'll also have the opportunity then to choose a cross-faculty module, which is a module in another subject area, so that you get an idea of what else is going on in the college as well. Maybe just something you're interested in just studying on a short-term basis, so you'll have the opportunity to do this as well. So then in year 2, you get to kind of specialize a little bit more in year 2. So in year 1, you'll have a kind of broad overview of lots of different topics. And in year 2, you'll have some core modules that you'll have to take, such as developmental and lifespan psychology, cognitive psychology, which is the topic that I currently teach on. You'll be looking at perception, and again, getting more in depth into your research methods. So at this stage in year 2, you'll be choosing between taking 2 different paths in psychology, and this is a unique element of our degree here in IDT. So you have the option of choosing between a practice path, which is the more traditional psychology approach, and your options will be to study topics such as organizational psychology and sport and health psychology. And then if you have an interest in looking at the technology side of things, you'll have the opportunity to study usability and virtual reality or augmented reality. So you can really fine-tune your technological skills here and look into more detail of the application of psychology to the area of technology. And this is something that always really interests employers, and it's a really unique way to utilize your psychological knowledge. So in year 2, then you're specializing a little bit more, and you'll continue to specialize then in year 3. So you'll have your core subjects again, and these include social psychology, where you're looking at how we interact in a society with each other, how we interact in groups. You'll also have the opportunity to study neuroscience and society, which is what Nicola teaches, and also looking at abnormal or clinical psychology, which is what Cleona teaches. And in year 3, then we also have a work placement that you get to engage with, which is where you will go out and do some either voluntary or paid work in a sector that is related to psychology. So this could be in the area of social care, or working with children, or working with adults with disabilities, or working in some other caring environment, or maybe more specifically to do with some of your other psychological knowledge as well. You could also do it in a tech-related placement, depending on where your interests lie. So you'll have the opportunity here to choose where you do your work placement, and you'll be supported through the college with that as well. We also have some opportunities to go abroad and do some placements for the summer. And you'll also be taking some more in-depth research methods classes as well. And again, we have the two different paths. So if you're on the technology path, you'll be studying user design in a little bit more depth. Whereas if you choose to study the practice path, which is the more traditional path, you'll be taking educational psychology and looking at different aspects of that. So in year 4 then, you get to conduct a research project of your own, which is a really great opportunity to look really in depth at something you're passionate about. So you can choose a topic that maybe has sparked your interest over the years and you spend the full academic year researching this topic and writing up a short thesis on it. And so this is a great opportunity to go in depth into something you're particularly passionate about. And we find our students really love doing this aspect of the degree. But you'll also continue to take some modules in 4th year, and your research module will support you in writing up your thesis. And your other core subjects would include positive psychology, transpersonal psychology, and the psychology of new media and entertainment. And then depending on which path you're on, you can study either criminal psychology, or you can take the tech path, which will look at things like future trends in technology. So that's a really brief overview of the kind of subjects that you'll be studying over the years, and the options that you'll have. And these will change slightly depending on, we redo our program. We're always looking at ways to improve it. But these are some of the basic modules that you'll have the opportunity to study.
Thanks, Emma.
So
oh, sorry, there's a question there, and it just says, are you able to do a mixture of both practice paths and technology paths? For example, taking a technology path in year 1, but a practice path in year 2.
So for in year 1, you'll be have the opportunity. So everybody will take the modules in the technology and in the more traditional psychology subjects. So you'll get the opportunity to see if that's something that you enjoy. I know a lot of people might not have ever looked at user design or any kind of technology stuff before. So it's a great opportunity to just see if this is something you'd be interested in. Then from 2nd year on, you choose either the technology path or the practice path and get to specialize a little bit more. So in 1st year, you will have the option to take this module, or it is a requirement of the 1st year of the course. So you will be kind of able to integrate then, but then after that you'll need to choose, but you still get to study most of the traditional psychology stuff. It's just that 1 or 2 modules each year will be dedicated to either your technology path or your practice path, whichever you choose. And we find that it's still if somebody might be worried if they take the technology path, will I still be able to get into a master's degree with it's still a traditional psychology degree, so it's not going to affect, negatively your chances of doing further study or anything like that. In fact, usually it's quite a positive, especially with employers who like to see you have that extra skill. So I hope that answered your question. Okay.
Yep, they said that. Thank you. And another question, will we be able to go down the path of criminal psychology or forensic psychology?
Yeah, for sure. So in your degree in the 4th year, forensic psychology is an option. I think it's listed as criminal psychology, so it's just kind of different terms for the same kind of topic. So that is something that you'll be studying, and then you can go on to specialize in a master's degree. Forensic psychology is available in Ireland as a master's degree, I think in University College Cork, possibly in another university. and that you can specialise then after your degree by doing a master's degree, if that's something that's particularly interesting for you. Or, as I said, when you're writing your major research project, you could choose that as a topic to look at in more depth as well and specialise there.
Yeah, just having a quick look. Is this degree one you could do to work as a social worker?
Well, you would need to go on to take a different qualification to become a social worker. So if you have like a base degree in psychology, you could go on to do a master's degree in social work to become a social worker. But you might need to do a kind of bridging course to get to that stage. I'm not sure exactly what the entry requirements are for like master's degree in social work, but but it would be possible, I think, to get into a master's degree in social work. I don't know if Fiona and Nicola have any
better to
extra
do it.
information.
Yeah, probably better to do it directly, I would have thought. Would you, Fiona?
Yes, I would think so. Yeah, definitely. It would be the best way to go straight into social sciences and go into that course. There probably are transition courses in the same way as if you did an undergraduate in another subject other than psychology, you can do postgraduate work to fill in the psychology bits that you've missed out in an undergraduate program, and you can get on to masters in psychology having done that.
Yeah, it's just to, I suppose, bear in mind that at the moment there are some changes with, it's a COCORI, a regulatory body, and one of the fields or areas that they've regulated would be social work. So there may be changes there. So I think the thing to do would maybe check with a social work program, probably in the first instance. Yeah.
Okay. What career paths and or further education are available at the end of the BSc Tech path?
Do you want me to take that, Emma?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah.
So just to be clear, both paths come out with the same degree. So you're coming out with a BSc honours in applied psychology. The tech or the practice path is immaterial in that sense. You've just a different emphasis in your degree. You have many, I think, career paths open to you. I think the kind of the tech side of things does mean that we get quite a few students who head off into careers in UX, so kind of user experience, how people work with and interact with technology, and can go into jobs straight out of the degree. If you're pursuing a more traditional psychology path, as with any undergraduate degree in psychology, we would expect you to go and do, or you'd be expected to go and do a postgraduate qualification specializing in a specific area like work and organizational psychology or forensic or educational or whatever it happens to be. But our students have gone all over and done many different things. They've gone on to do doctorates, they're lecturing now themselves, they're working in HR, they're working in as coaches, consultants, obviously as clinical psychologists, therapists. I don't know if Emma and Fiona, you want to come in with any other?
Yeah,
A lot of jobs in social, like before. Oh no, go on, Fiona.
So many people who've gone in so many different directions. Like a psychology degree now opens up so many doors for you. Some people don't even want to go on to do masters at the end of it. They can go and get a job, and particularly people coming through the tech path, they're very employable, particularly at the moment. But many of the students go on into marketing, they go into business, they go into clinical practice, they go into education, they go into teaching, they go into all sorts of different areas.
Entrepreneurship. We've had some successful entrepreneurs as well.
Yes, we have indeed, some very successful entrepreneurs. So that, you know, it really is a door opener to many things, because the skills you get out of a psychology degree are sought after in the workplace. We do a lot of teamwork. You will be very literate. You will be able to do research. You'll be numerate. You'll have lots of really good interpersonal skills. You'll have that experience of working in your third year. So you really are building up a huge array of skills which are highly valued in the workplace when you go out into the workplace. And then a lot, like this year, we've all written loads of references for our students going on to Queen's University. Like one student yesterday, she won a competition, a really big competition with the British Psychological Society in Northern Ireland, and she actually has an offer of 2 master's programs. So she has to say, you know, she's been accepted on 2, so she's to make the decision as to where she's going to go. So that's a really nice position to be in. And we have people going into lots of different areas. I think I've had well-being, clinical, forensic, name it. The students are going there, not only in Ireland, but abroad. There's a lot of people who are interested in going to the Netherlands. So I've written quite a few references for people to go to the Netherlands as well, and to the States in some cases. Though there's not too much travel going to the States at the moment, but people are going on scholarships to the States on various different programs. So there's lots of scope.
Yeah, and a lot of students end up getting jobs through the altruism program that happens in third year, where you might start volunteering, in social care or in, some kind of non-governmental organization, and students often get jobs even when they're still studying, which is, and then when they finish, continue on and really enjoy that kind of work. So it's a great opportunity, a great base for getting lots of different jobs, as Nicola and Cleona have said. So yeah, lots of options available. I'm trying to think of all the people I did my psychology degree with, and I have a occupational therapist, speech and language therapist, a job coach, just so many different varieties of career that there's just lots and lots of options available.
Where there's people helping people, there's often a psychology degree behind it.
One of my students last year went to do midwifery in Cambridge.
Oh, really?
To do a 3-year midwifery course, and we've had people to do occupational therapy as well. There's so many different things that you can go and do with it.
Yeah, right. I ended up working in social care for 15 years after my degree and just loved it so much, and really, it was a great kind of way to get a job like that. I didn't expect to get a job so easily after finishing, but and it was something, just kind of ended up doing and loved. So you'd be surprised by the kind of thing, doors it can open for you.
Another question in your overview of the subject matter of the 4 years, it said film project under the first year banner. What would that involve?
Okay, that's me. I'm to blame for that one. I do I do an assignment. I call it my film assignment. You're not going to make a film. You actually take a film and you link it to a psychological concept. So this year it was memory. And the students had to go and take a film, so any film that they liked that had some form of memory depicted in it. So we had quite a range. I've just finished correcting them. So there's quite a range of films that they've looked at, things like Finding Nemo, Shutter Island, all sorts of different things. And they had to take a particular part of memory, either short-term memory or long-term memory, link it to a model of memory and to address a number of questions on it. So that's what that assignment is. And I asked them yesterday, I said, did you like this assignment? I always do this at the end of an assignment. And they said, oh yeah, it's brilliant. They were able to really link in with the whole concept of memory, link it to their research, and it really brought it alive to them. And they were able to criticize the things that the directors got wrong as well. Like in some of the films, some of the issues that are brought up, they're actually fake. So they're able to find out those, and they were able to say, well, what the real problem was. So it's a fun assignment with a very serious backdrop to it.
Okay, and the asker said thank you very much. And there's another question in. How many hours per week are given to the lectures and classes on campus? I suppose in a non-COVID situation.
It depends on the year, really.
Yeah.
First year particularly heavy because you have 6 subjects. You will have a lecture in each of those subjects every week. And then every second week, you will have labs in each of those subjects. So you'll have a heavy week and you will have a lighter week. And then as in second year, it's slightly less. And then in third year and then fourth year, it's slightly less. But first year would be heavy. I don't know the number of hours. Let me do my sums and I'll come back to you. I just jot them down.
I don't think it's more than 20 hours, but each lecture will be kind of 2 hours long generally, and then so you'd probably have 12 hours of lecture per week, maybe 13, and then every second week you might have an extra kind of 4 to 6 hours of lab time.
It's about 18 hours a week in the first year, which is heavy enough. There's a lot of commitment there. We give you a lot of time with the lectures and a lot of in-class time.
Yeah, it's fair to say though, Fiona, that some or many students like that level of support, like that structure. They like the structured approach, say, rather than maybe just having one class.
Yeah, I think they do.
And yeah.
And you kind of get to do a lot of your assignment work, like say in the labs, we give you some time to work on your assignments in that supported environment. So as opposed to us giving information for another 2 hours in your labs, you'll get time to complete your assignments and you'll be there with your peers doing them together. I think Cleona mentioned lots of group work, so you'll have lots of group assignments that you'll be working on like in the college. So it's a nice opportunity to get to sit down and work together instead of just being at home or in the library working alone. So even though there is that contact time, you'll still be able to get some of your assignments done within those kind of teaching slots as well.
The question's not there, but I know it came up in a previous session around exams. There are no exams. It's all assessment based, is it?
No, there are exams.
Oh, there are exams. Sorry, beg your pardon. I'm confused with something. Okay.
There will be mainly assessment.
Yeah, I think it's mainly assessment, isn't it, going forward? Mainly continuous assessment. Yeah.
Yeah, like at the moment, a lot of the modules would be 50% continuous assessment and 50% exam, but we are, that is in flux at the moment. So we're looking at more continuous assessment and less exam. So cutting down significantly on exams is a possibility for the very near future. So yeah, but at the moment, this year it's a mix. But as I say, we're constantly trying to improve the program and keep up with, with students' needs. And I think the assessment seems to be a preference for students. So we try to kind of take that into consideration and look at what we can do to make that a little bit more flexible.
Okay. Another question about the future. What career paths can I go down with just the bachelor degree?
There's so many. There's so many available, so many different jobs, and I always direct students to this website called activelink.ie because there's so many jobs there that are open to people with bachelor's degree, especially in psychology. And I think employers really like to see the psychology aspect because it indicates that you have, as Cleona mentioned, good people skills and that you have some good insight into how other people are operating. So it gives you a really good base for transferable skills for lots of different employment in the, in the area of social care, of caring roles, but also there's lots of opportunities, as Nicola mentioned, if you choose the tech path, there's a lot of tech companies that come. Actually, we have a graduate exhibition every year. This year it's going to be online, but a lot of time employers will come and recruit students at the exhibition from the psychology program into different companies related to technology. And then there's lots of different, it depends what you're interested in doing, but there's lots of different jobs where a basic bachelor's degree will open up a lot of doors, even if it's not directly related to psychology. So in order to become a psychologist, you'd have to go on and study further, but there's lots of kind of related jobs or even some unrelated jobs that will be opened up as opportunities for you. I don't know if Nicola and Leona have any other.
No, I mean, I suppose the main thing I would say is, you know, when you're just going into first year, you've 4 years of a degree ahead of you. And there's a lot to discover about the field of psychology. And you may not figure out even exactly what you want to do until the later years and you've kind of experienced lots of kind of the different subjects. I think the point just with the postgraduate is that in psychology as a subject, you know, if you want to be a psychologist, a practicing psychologist, say clinical, counselling, educational, forensic, you know, wherever you study, you would be expected to do a postgrad qualification. But that's not to say that there isn't kind of maybe more general options straight out of a degree, as Emma says.
Okay, and the next question is, I was wondering what sets this course apart from other psychology courses and what makes it a better choice?
Nice question.
I can start an answer to that. For me, I feel like the college is small, so you're not on a massive campus. It depends what you like. Some people like the big hundreds of thousands of people around, and the anonymity of that. But the campus is quite small, and people all get to know each other really well. The class is quite small, so there's usually around 60 students there, thereabouts, maximum. And you have a lot more interactions maybe with the lecturers on the course, and a lot more time to get to know the lecturers and your classmates. And then there's also the opportunity to integrate technology with your psychology knowledge, which is one thing that really sets the degree apart from other degrees, and that you won't find elsewhere in Ireland, as far as I know, or is there one? So they're just some of the things that make it a really nice place to study, and you come out with, as Nicola said, just because you choose a technology path doesn't mean you come out with the exact same degree as you do with everyone else in your class and with that you would get from a university. So it's the exact same qualification and will give you the same opportunities as well. I don't know if Nicola and Fiona want to add anything to that.
I suppose probably the assessment would be a big one, in the sense that, so we have external examiners come in every year to look at the kind of the examination assessment content, and they always comment on the variety and just the quality of our assessment. So you can see there kind of on the slide in front of you that we have some very innovative assessments. So, you know, you're not going to be coming in and doing one essay after another. We've everything from, as Cleona said, a film project for me in third year, in order to learn about the brain. The students design a game. It can be a board game, it can be a computer game, which they really enjoy. You know, so there's a lovely kind of a broad range of, I suppose, assessments that we do. And just even from my, as well as lecturing, I'm also a career coach. So I can tell you that when it comes to putting your profile up on, say, something like LinkedIn, having these kind of range of assessments, you know, you can put up examples of your work, you can talk about them at interviews. We have students coming back saying, oh yes, I was able to talk about such a project at an interview. You know, there's some really, the breadth of assignments, I think, and the innovativeness of these assessments would be a really big one, certainly.
I think we're just really friendly.
Sorry, Cleona?
We're really friendly. I think we've a lovely team.
Yeah.
We get on really well together. It's not that we don't have our disagreements and arguments, but like basically we do get on well together, and that team is very evident. But I think we're very friendly. We look after our students. Our students are at the core of what we do. I think that's really important to us all.
Yeah, and I think that really, like Cleona is saying, I think this year, given the challenges that we faced, so we have periodic meetings with our student staff and student reps, and consistently this year, you know, the feedback has been just that they really appreciated that kind of sense of community, even though we were online, and how supportive the lecturers are. And because, like Emma's saying, the classes are smaller, we really do get to know the students, you know them by name. So I think there's just this lovely sense of a lovely warm community. So I think that's a really big plus.
Yep, sense of community.
Yeah.
I think one student described it as, I have joined a psychological community when they joined us, which I think is really nice, because all the students know each other. The first years will know the second years, and the second years will know the third years, and there's quite a bit of mixing between the different years. I suppose they're swapping tips.
Yeah. And when we write references, we know who you all are, and yeah, get to know you well.
Yeah, I'd agree with the community feel, and that's across a lot of our most of our programs. It really shows through. Now the question: do you expect the CAO points to rise much for this course this year?
I'll take that. We don't know. The CAO points are based on the number of people who apply. It's not based on the content of the course, so it depends on the number of people that have applied. The applications are very good, so we just don't know until such time as the administrators go down to Galway. Well, they won't be going to Galway this year, but they will, when the CAO offers come out, it depends on the number of people who have applied, who have put us as first or second in their choices. So they went up slightly last year. My gut feeling is they'll go up a little bit again this year. They will go up, yeah. But they won't jump they will never be as high as Trinity or UCD. We attract a different type of student, and that it doesn't mean to say that their degree is any less when they leave us. It's usually as good, if not better. It's just different, and people come into an IT with a different set of expectations than maybe going into a university. We support people in a different way, and they work through, they grow a lot. I think it's a really great thing to see the students when they come in first year, and you have them in first year, second year, third year, and fourth year, and you see this growth of these young people going out into the world. Lovely, absolutely lovely young people who have just so many talents, and they have so many qualities, and we've seen those and we've nurtured those as we go through the 4 years with them. So it's really nice to see that. So I'm lucky enough to be able to see that. I haven't worked with fourth years this year, but I've had a number of interviews with fourth years in the last couple of weeks, and it's just smashing to see how they've developed over the 4 years. So I think they will go up, though, just slightly. I think they will, but that depends on the number of people who apply and the number of people that we take in.
Okay, and please note that you have to do at least ordinary level maths. It's a minimum requirement, so foundation maths is not accepted. So just make sure you look at your minimum entry requirements. So the next question is, for the cross-elective option, for example, art, will there be on-site days to allow the students to get a hands-on approach to the subject? Thank you. I presume that's because of COVID. That question, because you would normally, in a normal year, you would be on campus and you would have been
all the time.
In the art studio.
It's probably premature. That's a difficult one to answer, I think, under the circumstances. I think it's fair to say that all of us hope that we will be in person, and certainly, I don't know, that's a hard one to answer, isn't it, at the moment, because none of us really have a definite answer on that one. They usually would be, as Sonia says, it's like we're very much an on-campus program.
Absolutely, so, and the art students have been working away online as well. So there's been a lot of transition over to the online environment for the practical classes that they're doing. So it is possible to do it. It's not ideal, and we don't want to leave it like that, but it is possible to do it. But hopefully we'll all be back on campus next year.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I know that in the model making area and in the backlot of the campus, the 3 of our fully employed lecturers put together packs and they send them out. So materials, if you were doing an art elective and God forbid you next year were not on campus, you would be sent, everything would be sent out to you and you would work from that perspective. So the next question is it common for graduates of this degree to find jobs abroad after finishing?
I don't have a statistic on that. I don't know. I run it's like a IADT psychology alumni group. And there are certainly people working all over the world. And I know last year we had videos, or sorry, it was the year before last, we had an alumni event and we had some students send in videos because they weren't in Ireland. I don't know how many of those were people who had just graduated as opposed to people who'd been out a little while, but certainly they do end up around the world. I think that's fair to say, isn't it? That they would be, they're all over, yeah.
And I think actually in some other countries it's kind of easier to get, you know, a job more related to psychology with just a degree than going on to study further, not as a psychologist, but you know, there's other different kind of qualifications are needed in different countries. So it's definitely, this would give you a really strong qualification if you're interested in going abroad to get a good job. But yeah, as Nicola says, we don't have stats on that, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
The next question is, are there any postgraduate degrees available in IADT linked to this course?
We have a cyber psychology master's. You don't have to come from IADT to do it. You don't even have to have an undergraduate in psychology to do it. We take people in from all sorts of disciplines, which makes a lovely mix. So people from technology, from sociology, from English literature, they're coming in to us from all parts of the university life, and it is quite an eclectic mix. Doesn't have PSI accreditation, but it is very much linked to the psychology degree because many of the lecturers who are teaching on the masters are also teaching on the undergraduate. So there's quite a lot of links.
You also have the option of doing a research master's degree. So you could, if you're particularly interested in a topic, you can do a research master's degree, which is usually 2 years in IADT, and you could be supervised by, for example, one of the lecturers that you did your project with, or one of the lecturers that has an area of specialization that you're interested in. So they would work with you on putting together a proposal, and you'd work then over 2 years in your own research. And also there is a couple of modules on more specialized research methods for the master's students as well available. So that would be something else that's kind of linked in to our program.
Okay.
Cat just jumped off a bed upstairs.
Thanks, Emma. What other things do psychology students specifically do in classes day to day?
Well, during the lectures, I mean, I know all of us try to make the lectures as interactive as possible. They are 2-hour lectures, so there's activities. I know in cognitive psychology anyway, if there's a lot of theory, but also we do a lot of activities to try and make the theory stuff more easy to grasp. So for example, if we're studying the topic of memory, you might I might ask you to participate in an experiment on memory to test your own memory, or to experiment on each other on different kind of cognitive skills. So in the labs then the students for my class will develop their own experiments and present an experiment to the class, and then they'll spend some of the class kind of writing that up as a report. So it's there's a lot of hands-on aspects as well as the kind of more you know, the academic aspects where you're just looking at content. We try to, you know, we all try to make it as interactive as possible. So it depends on your subject matter as well, what your, you know, the different activities involved. I know, I think the slide up there is one of the assignments that you would be doing with Nicola Porter here on the brain games. So you might be involved in making a game to do with one of the concepts in neuropsychology to kind of illustrate it and to try and get your head around what that concept means by using a practical kind of approach.
We would also do lots of research in class. So for a lab class, we would have a task, and the students would go and research either academic papers, or they would search online to see what is out there on this particular task. Well, one of my assignments in third year, it is to look at blogs on mental health issues. So students have to do quite a lot of research to collect the blog that they want to use, but also to investigate the mental health issue. They need to know that as well. So there can be quite a lot of hands-on activities, and then we have to analyze the data. So we have to sit down and work out how we're going to do that. So it's not all lectures. There is a combination of both, as Emma was saying. There's lots of activities, and that's where the learning happens. We can give you the theory, but you really learn when you sit down with your peers and you try to put some sort of a shape on it and try to share with each other the different things and try to ask each other, well, what does she mean by that? Or you might get another perspective on what you were looking at, and suddenly it makes sense, or it makes more sense, or a different sense, because you've been speaking to other people about it. So there's a lot of conversations that go on in class and outside class, like literally going out the door and thinking, what was that all about? Or, oh, I know what, that was really interesting, and going to the canteen and having a chat about it. So those are the types of things that happen. Nicola, have you any examples?
It's so varied. I think, like Emma says, we put a lot of thought into making our classes very interactive. I know for, say, when I'm teaching about the brain and sort of the various disorders that can happen as a result of, say, an injury or disease, we look at kind of case studies, and I would use a lot of video clips to kind of illustrate the different neuropsychological disorders, and I know the students really like that. But as well, I think psychology is a science, you know, that kind of experimental research underpins the whole degree. So nearly every module, psychology module, has that. So there would be, like in neuropsychology, I do one on problem solving, I do one on handedness, as well as being right and left-handed. You're also right and left-footed, right and left-eared, and right and left-eyed. So we have a lovely little kind of experiment where we test that. You know, so we've kind of all kinds of different, you could be doing anything when you come in on any given day. But yeah, it's just a really nice blend. And you know, you're in good hands here. We should say Cleona here has been just nominated for a Teaching Hero Award.
Teaching Hero,
Cleona, and one of the other lecturers on the team as well, who isn't here today. So, you know, we're very student oriented, and we work very hard to make the program both informative and enjoyable as well.
Okay, the next question. I was looking at year 3 topics, and I was wondering why it's a choice between Erasmus and work experience. Do you have to choose one or the other? And also, can Erasmus only be taken during the summer with this course?
Is that slide there, Emma?
Yeah, and I was a bit confused because we don't
established that about the Erasmus.
I'll go back to the slide. It did say Erasmus, but I think that it just referred to like going abroad. There isn't like a year Erasmus program at the moment. We don't have that in place.
To do with
so, but you can get funding.
The program is, yeah.
Yeah, so there's no equivalent psychology degree that you could swap. You know, go to another college. It has to be kind of equivalent in the subjects that you're studying. Yeah. So we're still working on finding somewhere that we could, you know, swap students with, but there is funding to do an Erasmus abroad for a particular period of time. It's usually over the summer, and I know our students have had funding to go and do an internship, for example, for a couple of months abroad. I know somebody went to Malta and worked a great internship for the summer. over there with an organisation, and you do the work experience as well. So that will be the altruism project, which I think is on the next slides coming up. Yeah. So this is where everybody would do this. It wouldn't be this or the Erasmus. Everybody would be involved in doing this as part of your social psychology module. And you would look for an organisation that interests you. So if you're interested in working with kind of youth, for example, you could volunteer in a local youth group or try and get a few hours a week of paid work in a youth group and get some practical experience and kind of implement all that psychological knowledge that you've gained. And it's a really great way to kind of make all of the psychology, all of the theory and all the stuff you learn, to make that make sense. And you kind of go, oh wow, okay, I've just learned about what that that concept is. And I know when I started working with people with disabilities, I was like, oh, this is all just, it's so great to have that link in with the practical work and what you're learning academically. So by the time you reach third year, you've got enough kind of knowledge to go and really implement that in a workplace. So it's a great opportunity to do that. And as I said, a lot of students get paid employment this way, and it's a great way to start kind of looking at jobs. And I know a lot of students work at kind of jobs that aren't related, maybe like in a restaurant or a pub or something, but it's definitely, a lot of students do get paid employment in a related area, like social care during the degree. So the work experience can be a good way to do that.
Yeah, and there's funds there for traineeships in the summer terms between years 1, 2 and 3, and there's also graduate traineeships funded through the Erasmus program, which are becoming more and more popular. So so the next question, with regards to statistics, is this a pretty heavy module throughout the 4 years? How many hours a week are taught on the program?
It depends who you ask.
Not every year. You go through statistics, you will have an average of 3 hours statistics every week. So that is usually broken down into a lecture, and then it's into a lab. So you'll have a lab every second week and you'll have a lecture every week. So it's broken down that in fourth year, the statistics is there to support your final thesis. So that's important. And in first and second and third year, it's building up your knowledge. So it's research methods and statistics. It's not just statistics. So you have to be able to research. You have to know how to do the research, the different research designs. So it's a combination of both. And is it heavy? I couldn't actually answer that. I don't teach it. But as the lecturer who teaches that module, she always says, on the first day of class, she said, if you can add, subtract, multiply, and use a scientific calculator and come to class, you'll be fine. But it's going to class. And if you're running into difficulties, you need to let her know. That's basically it. That there's no point in burying your head in the sand. That if you're struggling, you need to ask and you need to seek supports. And we do have some mathematical supports for people in the college as well, because we have a really good support service for students. We have a doctor who's on campus 2 or 3 times a week. We have one full-time nurse. There's a job share there, but there's two nurses there, and they're there. One of them is always on site. And we have a writing and research support person. We have a disability officer. We have an access officer. So we have quite a lot of support there for students who need that extra support. But there's also this year, I think for the first time, we have mathematical support. Like it's now a post. It's more formal than it was in the past. It was always there, but it's more formal at the moment. So there is lots of supports there for people. But some people do find statistics challenging. There's no doubt about it. But
definitely wouldn't let that put you off doing a psychology degree, though. Yeah. I'm not a major fan of statistics, and I've gotten through a PhD, and it was never something that really clicked with me or that was really natural to me. I had to work hard to get it. But whatever, if you're doing a psychology degree, you have to do statistics. There's no two ways around it. But as Cleona said, there is loads of support, and when you're in the class, you'll have that practical support to get you through if it is something that you isn't your favorite subject. And no matter what you choose to study or what you choose to work as, there's going to be one thing, some things you enjoy doing and some things you enjoy doing less. So it's, yeah, I would say it's
maybe they're
important.
asking us to love statistics.
Maybe, yeah. It's the word heavy that I think made me think that maybe.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, some people do love statistics and just get it, no problem. But it is a build up, as Cleona said as well. We'll start, light in first year and just building up your knowledge and your skills over the 4 years until you get to use them for your own project, which is really satisfying. So yeah.
Okay. If you want to do a master's in psychology in the hopes of being a clinical psychologist, would you have to apply for a master's in UCD or Trinity, for example?
Yes, I think you would. And clinical psychology is quite challenging because there are not that many places. Many of our students have gone on to do clinical psychology. Some of them have done it in Ireland and some of it have done it abroad. And the ones that I know of who have done clinical psychology have usually done a master's in something like applied psychology or in advanced research in psychology, and then our forensic psychology, and then have gone on to do their clinical.
Yeah, you tend to need some kind of either kind of further education or experience before you go on to do clinical. But that would be the same no matter where you did your undergrad. That's to do with the kind of clinical route more than anything. Yeah.
And you could do a research master's with a clinical aspect, as long as it's related to something clinical psychology, you could do a research master's.
And there was quite a few people when I did my PhD in Trinity, and some of the people that I was doing my PhD with were doing the PhD with a view to then going on and doing clinical. So yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of different routes to it, and having, as Cleona mentioned, and Nicola, the experience, the practical experience, it's hard to get into the clinical PhD without some practical experience as well. So having that would be helpful as well.
And you 4 years as well. I don't think that can really be understated. The number of people that come in, with I want to do this, but then encounter another subject that they find they have a passion for. And particularly, I think with the tech, people can sometimes they just absolutely love it and maybe didn't expect to. So be open to possibilities.
Okay, from the same person on a follow-up. So would this degree be the right place to start to go on to be a clinical psychologist?
I know that one thing that, employers, and if you're doing a master's, people look for variety in where you've studied. So, if you've studied in 3 different universities for your undergraduate degree, your master's degree, and your PhD, that can be viewed as a positive thing because it shows that you've got a lot of experience in different environments, and that you've been flexible and that you've had a taster of everything. So studying in the same place for your undergraduate degree and your master's degree or your PhD is not relevant as such. It's not a requirement. You're not more likely to get into a UCD clinical psychology program if you studied in UCD, for example. That's not.
And we do have
a requirement.
Many examples of students who have gone on very successfully to do clinical.
Oh yes, they're on the slides here. So we even have one of our lecturers, Dr. Liam Chandler, did his clinical psychology degree. That's about the. But so Tom clinical psychologist.
These are just ones in so many examples. Tom is particularly prolific. If you're on Twitter, you can give him a follow.
He has 2 PhDs.
He has 2 PhDs. One in neuropsychology, clinical psychology, and did a master's degree in UCD, and did his undergraduate degree in Iadt. And as you can see, there are lectures in UCD as well as the Royal College of Surgeons. And this is Marie, who just.
I think we've lost.
We've lost Emma's sound.
Are you back?
Oh, have we?
Yeah, no,
Oh,
you're coming in
you've
and
lost
out,
me.
but I think
Okay,
you're
I'll
okay
try
again now.
again.
You're okay now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it's probably my wife. Still see my slides?
Yeah, we can still see the slides.
Oh, okay. Marie studied in for a master's in science in forensic psychology at Maastricht University. And then this is Dr. Nick Early, who is also an IDT graduate, who is a clinical psychologist, now working over in London. And Dr. Liam Chandler, who also did his undergraduate here and is lecturing now in IDT as well. And Dr. Grace Carroll, who is a lecturer in Queen's University in Belfast. So you can see there's a lot of successful psychology undergraduates, and these are just a few examples out of many, many that we've put up here. So, example. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my Wi-Fi is really, this time of the evening, goes a bit funny.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question. I see there's one there that says, why is that? But I'm not sure what that's referring to.
It's okay. You had answered that sort of at the end
okay.
of it was the question before this one I'm going to ask. So thank you for the session so far. You're very welcome. When applying as a mature student, what can I count on? What is the admission of mature students based on at IADT?
Will I take that one, Nicola?
Yeah. Sure. I can always weigh in.
Okay. If you're a mature student, you are anybody over the age of 23, and you apply through the CAO. If you are applying with a leaving cert and you have the equivalent of the points, then you can use your leaving cert points. They will be converted by the CAO. If you haven't studied for a number of years, you might want to go back to do further study in a post-leaving cert college, such as Blackrock Further Education, which is really close to us. We get a lot of mature students from there. And they will have done a course such as applied psychology. And they will have covered quite a lot of things that I do in Introduction to Psychology, but also they will have covered statistics and they will have covered research methods. So they have a really good grounding in psychology when they get to us. And as do all of the non-mature students, their FETAC courses are what we now call QQI courses. And this is a really good route for a lot of people to come into psychology and come into us. The mature students still have to have a minimum of an English, of pass English and pass maths, or the equivalent. So we will be looking at that to see if you have maths and if you have English, and you are assessed separately. So the assessment will be done sometime in June and offers are made sometime in early July. So you will know that you have an offer at, I suppose, in the early part of the summer, because a lot of mature students have to make a lot of arrangements. They can't just maybe leave a job, or they have to find people to look after children, etc. So we offer those places out the beginning of July. Does that answer your question, or do you have a specific question that you want to ask around that?
I'll leave the applicant the opportunity to type something in, perhaps. So there is another question on how many spaces are there for DARE applicants in the course, as I've heard it varies between different courses.
I don't have an answer to that.
That would be on the website of the CA or of the, I know I've seen that information, but I can't remember where. It was either through the CAO or
it changes year on year, as far as I know, based on our numbers as well. I think it goes up and down very slightly, but the very best person to contact is Anne Farrell in admissions, and I'm just going to put her email address in there for everybody. Anne would be able to give you all of the information in relation to advanced entry, mature students, and she'd be able to also help you with the number of DARE applicants, but also Sinead McAtee in the Access office as well can help there. Okay. Sorry, just seeing if so the previous question about mature students, the person who asked the question said that you answered it. It's perfect.
Thank you.
And then another question: what career paths can I go down with just the bachelor degree? They may have joined the call late, so they didn't hear your answer from earlier.
Sorry, I was busy Googling the DARE question.
Oh,
I found out the answer anyway. The answer is 3 places.
okay,
3 DARE
so
places and 2 here places. This in last, or three of each. 3 here and 3 DARE places. But that was a couple of years ago, so as Kieran says, it changes. Sorry, I had to know that information.
it's okay. Sorry, what was what career paths can I go down with just a bachelor's degree?
I suppose it depends on whether you're going through the tech path or whether you're going through the practice path. The tech path will open up more opportunities for tech companies, and you will find that you will be very sought after. The practice path, you can go into a variety of different jobs. You won't find an advert in the newspaper for psychologist, graduate psychologist, unless it's a particular company or the HSE. But you'll find that a lot of companies are very pro psychology students, because graduates, because they have such skills in numeracy, in literacy, and in research skills, and in presentation skills. So they would be quite sought after. So as one of our ex-heads of department would have said, he would have said, if you can get a job wherever you can persuade somebody to employ you, which I suppose is a bit of a harsh way of putting it, but if you have the personality and if you have the skills, that you have just as good a chance as anybody else of getting that job, maybe even better chance of getting the job. So it's how you use your skills at the end of the day.
Yeah, and just in case you did miss the earlier point, because I think this is something that we often discuss on open day and can be behind a question like that. If you do wish to be a psychologist in sort of the strict sense of the term, so forensic, educational, organizational, clinical counseling psychologist, those would require a postgraduate qualification no matter where you do your undergraduate degree. But there are lots of ways of helping people, and just lots of ways of helping people and utilizing your psychology outside of those kind of maybe more traditional paths.
Okay, thank you. There are no other questions. That's just a thank you coming in there from that person. So yeah, there's no other questions there. That's all of them covered. Unless anybody has one right now. Just thank yous.
Hope to see.
I know it's past 6, so people probably want to go and get their dinner and stuff. I can finish up with just mentioning a couple of things that our lecturers are working on, and I know we had a little bit of information from the student ambassador, so if you want, I can cover that, or if people are hungry and want to go, that's no problem. I know it's after 6.
Yeah, people are just saying thank you, but there's no people are still on the call, so you could run through it if you like. It's no problem.
Cool. Well, I'll mention just there's a couple of projects. For example, Dr. Irene Connolly working with Mary McConnell, 2 lecturers on the programme, and they are working on a disabuse project in conjunction with DCU as well. So this is a great project, and some of our students get involved, especially in 3rd year. We do a group IT project where students make an app related to some psychology concepts. So some students have made apps to do with this project before. So some students have also done their research projects in conjunction with this bigger project. So it's a great opportunity there to get involved. And And Dr. Nicola Box-Hamilton also does some projects on the topic of online dating, as involved with research in the EU as well. And there's a link there to the Disabuse project if you're interested in having a look. And also a great place to see some of the work that our students do is on the Showcase website. We have a showcase at the end of every year where the whole college presents the work that they've done. So you can take a look here at some of the projects that the psychology students have done via this showcase link. And Sinead, who isn't able to join us today, is the student, was going to talk about the student experience, but just to give a kind of summary of her experience of applied psychology in UCD, she's emphasised the sense of community and openness in the course and on campus in general throughout the college. She said she felt very welcomed and really enjoyed the kind of small class sizes and the safe environment that was created and the ability to kind of openly chat about the topics that were being taught. And said that the staff were friendly and approachable, and that she'd previously studied in UCD in the kind of large classes of 300 people and really enjoyed the change to the smaller class sizes. So just to give you an insight into one person's experience of studying here. And from Sinead's perspective. She also emphasizes the opportunities that you have to study different kind of areas, including the tech areas and the more practical areas or the more traditional psychology areas such as sport and health psychology, and the ability to apply these to everyday practical situations. So she also emphasised the fact that there's a lot of continuous assessment, and there's going to be a little bit less emphasis on the exam, as I mentioned earlier, in future years as well. So it makes it that little bit more accessible to students. So you can learn more about the course at this link as well on the IADT website, and do feel free to contact us if you have more questions. We'd be happy to answer. Thanks so much for attending and for all your questions and interest. It's great to for people to be interested, so it's been lovely to chat with you all.
Yeah, thank you for your time this evening. It's been great.
Thanks, Sonia, for organising.
Yep, no problem at all. So everybody's just saying thank you. So I think we can sign off. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. Keep an eye on the website for any other events. They'll be all on the homepage. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Bye.